studio. So um, I just want to say good morning, everybody, and or good afternoon or good evening if you're someplace else. I really am grateful that to be a part of the U.S. Values Alliance, to be able to have these conversations about values and how we can integrate them in our personal and professional lives, I think is so important. So we are we're in such a great time in history to really make some long-lasting impact by the values that we share. So I was one of the 6 values that we picked for 2025. Honesty, fortitude, community, compassion, trust were the other 5, but today we're going to talk about hope. And as I was trying to think about how to talk about hope, it really aligns with an art project. I'm an artist. My name's Joanne Morton, by the way. I'm an artist, and I've been working on this project, the Manifesting Mobile, which I'm going to share in a moment. But these are some photos from it. I wanted to use the word hope as a part of how I want to express my work into the world as a creative. I'm really interested in interactive experiences. And so when I was thinking about who I wanted to co-present Hope with, the first person I thought of was Beth. And I think it's Beth Remmes, right? I don't ever say your last name.
Remmes. Yes.
Remmes.
Yep.
And I don't really ever hear you say I'm Beth Remmes. So Beth, I met Beth a few years ago on the internet because I was looking for some inspiration about different things. And I came across Joanna Macy, and this woman has groups in all these different towns. I found her in Atlanta. I live in Savannah, and we just connected and had this great conversation. And as the Earth Day Festival organizer, I learned about Georgia Interfaith Power Light and worked with that organization. And then lo and behold, a few years later, Beth showed up in Savannah as the outreach, one of the outreach coordinators. So Beth, do you want to say anything really quick? You're going to talk about the way the call is going to go today is um, we're going to, I don't want to say that. Never mind. Beth, do you want to say a few words just to introduce yourself? Blah, blah, blah.
Sure, sure. Well, thanks, Joanne, for including me. And I've joined you at least one other time before, so it's nice to be a part of this group today. Yes, my name is Beth Remmes. I am the Coastal Organizer and Climate Resiliency Coordinator. It's quite a mouthful for Georgia Interfaith Power and Light. So we work to inspire and equip communities of faith to organize by creating green teams, implementing practical climate solutions. So often that looks like doing energy audits and retrofits and maybe even putting solar on roofs. And then we also advocate across Georgia on issues of climate change, environmental justice, and community resilience. So we are ticking a lot of action boxes here.
Yes, see, that's why hope and action. So that picture, what is that picture from? You guys went down to Atlanta for something?
Yes, every so in Georgia the legislative session is like January through the end of March. So we have a Capital Conservation Day usually in early February where we communities members of different faith organizations learn how to lobby for things that we're interested in promoting in the Georgia legislature. So this is a picture from Capital Conservation Day.
Yeah. And I think that's the key is, in fact, what our theme for this year was, reclaim our values and actions required to do that. So we can have a vision for something, but you have to take that action. And I believe hope inspires that action. So right before we move on to having Beth is going to give us a little meditation and just share some more information, but I wanted us to just kind of briefly talk about share to get our headspace here, the difference between hope and faith, because Gipple, as they say it, is a faith-based organization. And I've always really been inspired that they go and work with the different churches and community centers, faith community centers in their communities, because they're the ones that are leading, protecting Garden of Eden, right? So what better way to protect Garden of Eden, but be an environmental justice activist. So, but what I'd like to do is all of us just read a sentence or two, whatever. So I'll go first, then Beth, then David. Alan, if you feel like reading, shake your head. If not, shake your head no. And Susan, if you can read it, yay. Darby, is anybody else on? I can't see. And Eben. And if anybody who's off screen and wants to read, just read. So I'll go first. The difference between faith and hope. Hope is the feeling or expectation something good can happen in the future.
Faith is trust or belief in something, whether it's a higher power, a person, a purpose, or the unseen forces at work. It provides a deeper foundation, a sense of grounded knowing, even when evidence is lacking.
Hope says it's possible. Faith says it's already happening.
Why both are important. Hope fuels motivation. It lights the way ahead, keeps us from despair, and inspires us to dream and act. It's a spark.
Faith gives us courage. It helps us keep going when hope flickers, reminding us that we're held by something larger, be it purpose, spirit, or community. It's the steady flame.
Together, they create a powerful dynamic. Hope without faith can feel fragile, easily shaken by setbacks.
Faith without hope can become rigid, disconnected from vision or change.
Do you want to read the last sentence, Chuck?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But hope grounded in faith and faith energized by hope. That's how movements are born. Healing begins and transformation unfolds.
Wow. That really moved me. Thank you for reading all of that. That was really good. And I'm going to say one of the reasons that I have hope, it's because of people, it's because of humanity. That's what was really showing up for me this morning when I was journaling and preparing for this call. With all the mess that's out there, humanity, people like yourself and people who are doing the work and taking the action really inspire hope in me. And that's something that I hope that it inspires more people. And I want to pass it on to Beth to share more details about Gipple. And did she pop off? Oh no, she's there. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm here.
Pop off. Yeah, don't leave me, Beth.
So, at the beginning of our meetings, we have a moment of inspiration, and we take turns sharing something. When it was my turn, I shared a podcast or excerpts from it from the On Being, the Hope Portal. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you can find it in any place that hosts podcasts. But it's On Being, and it's called the Hope Portal. And I played a clip, and then I asked people to kind of write down like synonyms or things that made them think about hope. Because sometimes hope just feels like such a nebulous word. And I'm like, well, what other words could we use maybe in substitute for that, or to really kind of bring the point home? So what people had put in the chat that, again, they were inspired by listening, it was actually, we listened to the series with Adrienne Marie Brown. And the words that came up for people were new creation, it is possible, like that belief that it is possible, live as if, regeneration, imagination, life, change, like knowing that things are going to change, like we know that it's not stagnant and something will emerge that's different, honoring reality, faith, emergence, resistance, and possibility. And just a word about emergence. So the meditation I'll be sharing later is from a framework called The Work That Reconnects, which I facilitate for. And Joanne Macy was a systems theorist, and part of systems theory is the properties of emergence. It's the idea that The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Like, who would have thought that, we combine hydrogen and oxygen and get water? So the idea that when people come together and forces come together, that it could create something that we couldn't even imagine before. And Joanna Macy always said that those emergent properties to her were synonymous with hope because it left space in there for the possible, the unknowing, the mystery of it all. So I wanted to share that with you too. You're on mute, Joanne.
Yeah, before we move on, has anybody else heard of Georgia Interfaith? I mean, because Interfaith Power Light is a national organization, correct?
It is. It's in many of the states, not all 50, but quite a few.
Catherine, you're shaking your head. Have you worked with them before?
I haven't worked with them directly, but I've encountered them a number of times. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a place I've thought about for my values work too, because it seemed to apply there. Never quite made it. Yeah.
Seems intentional that it sounds like an electric company.
It is. Yeah, it was kind of that was a little tongue in cheek when they first started it. It was started out in California by Reverend Sally Bingham, and literally like the first things they did would go in like, back when CFLs were the curly Q light bulbs, they would go into faith communities and she was an Episcopal priest, so that's kind of where they started and would just go in and start changing light bulbs. So yes, that's how it's got its name. And I'll just say too, while I'm thinking of hope and resources, Rebecca Solnit's book, Hope in the Dark, is also really great. And Joanna Macy and Chris Johnson's book, Active Hope. And there is a free online class that you can take with Active Hope too. And then just having that word active really, I think, can, again, help hope feel a little more tangible. Like, yes, I'm hoping for this world, and there are certain action steps I can take to help bring it forth.
So one of the questions I also want to ask you, Beth, is so as working with all these people, you're going out into the community and you're talking to some people who are sort of new to the climate change crisis and new to how to environmental changes. Do you feel that how do you inspire hope or there's a lot of despair? Like the question I'm asking is, how do you think how do I approach? I should have written the question down. How do you help people find hope or discover hope in the work that you do? Because without being too, the end of the world is here because we only have 5 years left of the planet if we don't change climate crisis.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a few answers in that. And the first thing I'll say is to look to history and look to movement building and things that have changed and even just our individual capacities. So, like human beings, we have had a lot of phase changes and big shifts over the course of history, from being hunters and gatherers to an agrarian society to the Industrial Revolution, learning how to use steam, fossil fuels, and all that happened with the Industrial Revolution. And now like the tech revolution. I mean, I joke, when I was in college, like we didn't even have email. And now I can like FaceTime people, across the Atlantic from my phone. So like we do have that capacity for advancement. So yeah, looking for an eye to history and just things like, the labor movement, women's, like voting rights, civil rights, there is that lens that we can look through for change. And then I think the other part about hope is Sherry Mitchell has a book called Sacred Instructions that I love. And it's so I'm looking at the past and then also really looking at the present, maybe not even so much the future, but like knowing that we have agency to create the world that we want to live in today. So Sherry Mitchell talks about it in her book using the 80-10-10 formula. So like 10%, yes, like pay attention to the news, know what's happening, but only like 10% of your time, not like doom scrolling all day. And then 10% of your time on what Joanna Macy would call holding actions, or what we think of more as like traditional activism, like holding back that tide of harm. So, whether that's showing up for a protest or calling a legislator or boycotting something, 10%. But that other 80% is really live into the world that you want to be a part of. Like start doing that now. So maybe that looks like being a part of community gardens, doing a community art installation, really kind of taking that power back that we do have the choice to, on a daily basis, put our energy into the world that we want to live into.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear. So I'm thinking of like just the churches that put on solar power, on their churches because they have been doing the work to understanding what they can do to make the changes. Because I want to ask you the question, how have you seen action happen because of the hope that the communities have given themselves to take the action? And like, so have you,
I
like, is
mean,
it
this is a values talk, so I would almost maybe frame it like that, like the hope that we can align with our values. You know, and I'm seeing Susan's question. The Sherry Mitchell's book is Sacred Instructions. So I think the hope is again like that agency piece, that action piece, that we don't need to wait for like the White House to make a decision about solar or energy. Like these are things that we can actually do to be more in alignment with our values. So if we want to care for people and planet, there are ways that we actually can make a difference to do that and be in that alignment, like practice what we preach or walk the
right?
talk. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. And you're right. It is really about what the agency we have, the action thing that we can take. And that's all different kinds of actions as well. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Does anybody else have any feedback or questions? This is totally interactive. No, because I'd love to move into the meditation.
Yeah, and I'll just explain like a little bit the flow. So it's kind of thinking about that 80%. Again, I'm guilty of this too. I spend a lot of time looking at like what things are like now and kind of fretting about that. So this is, I don't know, maybe it'll be 8-ish minutes. And you're welcome to turn off your camera or whatever feels most comfortable to you. But we're just going to do a meditation, and it is based on there's another great podcast called We Are the Great Turning. And this is from bonus episode number 2, and it's based on Daniela Meadows. She had a talk way back in 1994. People were still talking about this, called Envisioning a Sustainable World. So we're just going to have a chance to like feel into what this world could look like, really kind of dream and imagine. And then Joanne will lead us in kind of a creative way to draw that out. So, all right. So yeah, I just invite you to get comfortable. Again, you're welcome to keep your camera on or turn it off if that's better. Sometimes I know for me it feels vulnerable to like have my eyes closed and my camera on. So yeah, feel free to turn it off. And I invite you to take a deep breath and settle into your body. And feel your feet on the ground. Just notice the temperature of the air on your skin. And now let's zoom back in our mind's eye all the way out into space to see our Earth from above. Can you see it? And now begin to slowly zoom back into a different version of our world, one that is truly just and life-sustaining. And now as we zoom back in, look towards the landmass where you live, seeing the mountains or rivers or oceans around you from above. And then zoom in even closer over the rooftops and all the way to your home. What does it feel like to wake up here in the morning? What does your food, energy, and water, where does that all come from? And when you look out the window or step out the door, what does it look like? Who else lives around you, human and non-human? And how do you relate to each other? Now let's look around your neighborhood. How is it arranged so that the children and elders and everyone in between are safe and happy and thriving? How are families taken care of? What kind of work do you do in this just, life-sustaining world? What is your special role in your community? And how does it feel to do it? And who do you do it with? And what does joy, creativity, and celebration look like for you in your household and your community? What makes life beautiful? How do you play and enjoy each other's company? How do you enjoy and interact with the natural world around you? Now let's look at the broader community that your neighborhood is a part of, your city, your state. How do people relate to one another here? How do they meet their needs for food, clothing, shelter, and transportation? How do you make joint decisions? And how do you resolve conflict? How are people of different ages, genders, races, abilities, and talents treated in this neighborhood and community? How do they fit in with nature? How do they relate to the plants and animals and soil, waters, stones, and stars? And now we'll zoom back in, leaving this just and life-sustaining world to come back into our own world as it is now. And as you come back and open your eyes, just take a few moments to notice how you feel after taking this journey.
Everyone, wow. Oh, I love shared experiences like that. Thank you, Beth. Yeah. Does anybody want to share anything that they saw? Not required, but curious. Jump in if you want to interrupt me, that's fine.
Or
So
even just how it felt. Like even I was just leading it, so I wasn't going in as deeply, but even just me saying coming back into the world we're in now, like it felt jarring. I wanted to be like, I hope you had your seatbelt fastened. Like even just like how that felt to kind of live in that space of possibility, to even just for a few minutes.
Yeah, it was very idyllic, in a sense, because there were aspects that I could point to in where I live and where I have lived, but the majority was we got a long way to go. Which
Mhm.
I know was probably the objective of the exercise, to see where the gaps are and how great the gaps are. Um, and it is within our power, right? To your earlier points that both of you made, that it's within us to do this and to be able to do this every day. It's a small step, but if we believe it, right, we can live it. And I think that's the big bridge for a lot of us to walk over, right? You first have to be aware that there's this gap. But anyway, but it's very
Yeah,
good.
or like moving into it. Like maybe like
Right.
sometimes when I picture this, I think of, I don't know, it's kind of like I think of like community gardens or like community potlucks or gatherings. And I'm like, these things actually do exist. What if I gave that more of my energy? So kind of just noticing what stands out to me, and just seeing, because a lot of this stuff, it does exist in pockets. We don't have to like totally recreate it. So then again, like back to like that equation, that 80%, like, okay, can I give my energy to some of this that already exists?
Right.
yeah. Well, let's just keep moving forward and we can keep talking about this because it might spur so one of the actions that I invite people to do and I take in myself is I've been creating what I call manifesting mobile, and it's an immersive project in 2010. And I did an event, the picture that's in the tent there on the far left-hand corner. That exhibition was actually called Circles of Hope, because on all these circles that you see, people are writing down their visions for the planet, people, prosperity, and peace. And it's been it gives you hope when you walk through it. So you have these circles hanging, and I invite people to walk through and they read what all the circles are. And it's been really, really powerful. And I am continuing to build it. So, and what I've been wanting to do is find ways to not always have to be in person to get people to make a circle to add to the mobile. So you guys are my little experimental art project today. So I don't know if you've downloaded it, but I did create, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I did create a little PDF file that you might have received. Yay! So if you did, yay, yay. So if you did print it, yay, but if you didn't, no big deal. I'm sure all of you will have a blank piece of paper. And one of the things that I do is every time I print something and I don't use it, I have so many pieces of scrap paper. Every office I've ever worked in, I'm always like, where is this scrap paper file, you know? So easy thing to do to take action to keep hope alive in your office. So what I'm asking you to do is this, usually what I do, the circles are made out of recycled cardboard boxes, another way to take action. And I have people decorate them on, you know, both sides, and then I hang them. So this is what they've looked like in the past. And what I've been trying to do is invite people to cut out a circle out of a cardboard box, come on a Zoom call and make the art, and then put in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and mail it to me. That's a lot to ask. That is a lot to ask. And I think that's something, you know, we have to ask, we have to start with people where they're at. You can't ask people to immediately start changing their entire life. So do little steps. So Joanne had this idea. What if I have people decorate inside of a circle? Now the circles are the size of a CD. So if you don't have the page, if you have an old CD, which all of you look like you might have CDs in your house, that's the outline, or just do whatever you want. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is take a picture of it and email it to me. And then I'm going to cut it out. And then I'm going to glue it on the cardboard. And so I'll start having a collection of people's circles that they've made someplace else. So you guys are all nodding your head. So this is a good idea. Thank you for your positive feedback, because this is a project I've been working on since 2010, and I will share this. I think it's evolved so much. You know, it's not the same project it was in 2010. And I invite all of us to have that ability when you're working on something, whether it's a relationship, a project, or a book, something, to trust your inner guidance to evolve. Trust it, because it will. If you say, well, this is how it's supposed to be, well, you know, it's going to happen. So we are now going to, so I'm going to ask you to pick a piece of paper, markers, anything, but also if all you have is a pen, that is a creative tool. And I will always tell all of you, you're an artist. You just have to accept the way you're an artist, and you are. So I'm going to share my screen again, just to give the question that Beth posed. And again, round of applause for Beth, right? Oh my gosh, Beth. I'm just so grateful for the work you do, and for all you have such a resource of knowledge that you've just shared. You know, you need to share your book list because it's great. So, but this was the question that the conversation Beth and I had, and she said, what action does your hope ask you to take? So what I'd like to do is for you to, in words, or if you want to make a little drawing, what does that action look like? And I have another, if I'm going to play with this idea that I showed up with this morning when I was journaling, I'm going to use an I statement. I'd like to just see what that looks like. I intend to do, or I am doing. And if there is something that you are doing, that you're taking action, and you know it's because you have hope for whatever you're hoping for, I'd love to see that. But otherwise, you know, we'll take, I don't even know what time it is. Let's take, like, it's 12:37 in my life. So let's say, we'll check back in at 12:45, 12:47, you know, 7 to 10 minutes. So, and then I'm going to ask us all to share if we'd like. So yeah, so, you know, think about it, process it, and let's see what shows up. Anybody have any questions? Nope. Okay.
Yes, David, you might want to pause the video if you're thinking of it.
Right. Like, everyone. Still working. I love it. Okay. Wow. So there's so much power in sharing creative time together too. There really is. So you're getting a double dose of shared time. We got shared collective brain, meditative experience, and now we get a creative brain experience. This is good for us as we lead into the holiday weeks. Everyone does their holiday thing. So hopefully all of you who are traveling will make this easier who are in the United States. So I'm is ready. Okay. So that was really fun. So I will show you mine first. And I don't have any glue stick in front of me by my desk, but it works. So I cut out the circle and it works on my piece of cardboard. So I'm really excited on this end. And I wrote, I didn't know I had all these different ideas, but this is just what I wrote this time. My little actions, I'll read it, but that's what it looks like. My little actions: smile at strangers, composting, donate money to nonprofit groups of hope. Because I think all those little things, I started donating to the local with Georgia's public broadcasting. And I've never done that in my entire life of watching public television, but if I'm going to pay, $12 for Paramount Plus, I can pay $10 to, public television. And every time I compost, I love composting, and I take it to a community garden. So it's really special. Does anybody else like to share? I'd love to be inspired by your hope. Catherine?
Yeah, so I in listening to what you folks are saying, and then I was talking about honesty a while back, and hope and faith also bring forth trust in my mind. Because there's something that you're putting your trust in, that you have some sort of belief or context that gives you that kind of strength from whatever that is. So thinking about trust, and for me, when I looked at that question, the only place that I found I could trust is nature, because nature goes for life. That's all nature does. So if you want to be alive, it sounds logical to me that if you follow what she's doing, that's probably going to happen for you, or more likely. And so given the places that we are, the place on the planet that we are in, the situation, that seemed to me to be something that gives me a great deal of hope, because I know that nature wants life. So I feel that if we support what she does, that's going to be our best chance as well. So when it came to the circle, it's like, how do you do that? That was a whole lot to try and do something. So what I was thinking of was talking to trees, which I do, and listening to what they say, which I do. And so that's the circle for me.
I love it. Anybody else?
Well, I'll just go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks, Beth.
Alan?
I'll go and I'll be quick. So this is one side, which is all about continuing to ask questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And the other side shows how, let's move that, shows how the line down the middle is like a force field that we sometimes think is real, but actually isn't. And we can step from acceptance, which is this small dark box, into possibility, which is a box with light and stuff radiating out of it. And so this is how you can move from one to the other and keep asking questions.
I love that. Yeah. Barbara?
I can barely talk, but mine's two-sided too. I will do it on computer and send it. This is resilience on one side. Basically, that's the yin yang symbol. It says, every time you are knocked down in or by life, choosing to get back up is the most important thing you can do, followed by learning from the experience.
That's beautiful. Thank you for coming today. It's good to see you.
You too.
Beth, you want to share yours?
Well, I was just going to say mine was connected to what Catherine was saying about leading like nature connection activities so that people can feel that sense of interconnectedness and like being held by that wider web of life. So very connected to what you said.
So now we
Yeah.
need your address, Joanne.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, I was going to put that in.
It's on the forum too, but yeah, I already emailed mine to Joanne. I'm
Ooh.
I want a gold star. But I won't get a gold star for my drawing abilities. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, well,
I have no idea if you guys can read it or not. But once
what
I'm done
regards
showing it,
Listen, wait, I got to put on speaker for you. Hold on.
or
Okay.
I could just read it in a second. But like I said,
Listen
I
to what
emailed it
my
to you already.
heart says. No, it's you now. Because when I
I'll-
speak, it goes to me.
No problem. Anyway, that's the top one, and the bottom one is a visualization of it, heart overhead, uh, sort of like those old puzzles that you used to have to solve for. Anyway, the top part says, "Listen to what my heart says is the right thing to do, not all the social constructs."
I love it. I'm also really intrigued that both you and Alan did a whole line visualization. You both had that, separate, which is interesting.
Except mine is horizontal and his is vertical,
Right. Fascinating. Yeah.
which explains how our brains work differently.
Anyone else like to share? Evan? You're still making it. Darby, did you have it? Did you make anything? Did you have any comments? Not that you have to.
I made, but I didn't follow the instructions, which is my
That's
life
okay.
issue.
We make our own rules.
Okay. Well, so I did two, but I'm going to redo one of them because I didn't do the right writing, but I don't know if you can see it. So it's be the sparkle in someone's life, and that kind of encourages their hope, keep their hope alive.
Oh,
And
I
then the
love it.
bottom one was about humanity, even though I wrote it as man. Humanity is the hope for all living creatures. So
I love that.
a
I
little
love it.
different ilk here.
That's okay. I love it. I love it. These are so good. Oh, and I would love for you to email them to me because I would love that. So, okay, Evan, bring it
All right,
home.
I emailed mine and I started out with a
Ooh, yeah.
visual that just kind of came to me, and it's basically this concept of spark heart. So it's just kind of a thing there, and then kind of keeping to the theme, the actions of really the outcome is to from that hope space, there's a bit of joy, and from the faith, there's some action, and then the spark heart just kind of putting the concept together as something because to David's point, I'm hard-headed, but I'd rather be heart-headed. So there you go.
I love we have another artist in the group. There's
Yeah.
a movie about activism called Fierce Light. It's kind of made me think of your drawing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so once I get all your emails, I will. Oh, Susan, yay!
I'll go, but I don't want to be on camera because I just had a biopsy on my face.
Okay, that's okay.
So I have two things. So it's my What Can I Do Compassion um, project that I've been working on. And then living the Know Your Value, Live Your Value, Know Your Value, Live Your Values, continuing to inspire people to know that they're already valuable and live in alignment with their values so that they can bring everything about them to the world that's unique. And yeah, that's
I
it.
love it. I love it. So I would love to take a photo, and I'd love for those of us who made a circle to put them on the screen. So Susan, if you want to just put your screen back on and the paper in front of your face. That works for us. And that way we can all show it. And totally. Okay, just smile, Catherine. Yay. Wait, I got to do 1 second. I got to do this. I'm going to screenshot, selection, capture the room. Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, on 3. I'm going to, well, I'll click 1, 2, 3. Oh, it looks so good. Okay, thank you. Okay, got that done. All right. So thank you all for reclaiming your values, taking action on honesty, fortitude, community, compassion, trust, and hope. And so that's all, folks. Thank you.
On time, even. Look at that.
End recording.